The sky outside her window mirrored her turmoil, patches of blues and grays, hopeful rays fighting through the dense overcast. The sunlight lit up fragments of her room, illuminating stacks of notebooks where her poetry and dreams danced uncertainly alongside despair soaked entries that screamed into the void, "Do you hear me?" The weight of her emotions formed a heavy shroud, an invisible cloak worn in public, shielding her fragile essence from a world that often misconstrued fragility as weakness. For years, she had poured her heart into a world that demanded less vulnerability and more composure. But the truth was that her heart was a wild beast that desperately wanted to break free from the chains of misconceptions that bound it. Each conversation, like a dance, felt like a two-step. A quick glance at joy, followed by the crushing dip into misunderstanding. Her words, often a flurry of honesty, were spun around in circles until they morphed into something unrecognizable. Did I really say that? She would think, staring at the reflection of confusion in others' eyes, their tight smiles reminiscent of the irony and laughter disturbing the air. Why can't they see me? She pondered, the thought echoing in the vast chambers of her consciousness, a repeated refrain that bore the weight of unfulfilled hopes. Her honesty, the ethereal thread that connected her brain's vibrant tapestry, was often weaponized against her. Kindness, extended like an offering, turned into fodder for cynicism. Weren't her outbursts merely cries for connection, desperate tones seeking recognition? Instead, they were dismissed, rebranded as ignorance, impulsivity, or, in the harshest of light, weakness. The hands of empathy seemed perpetually out of reach, and her spirit ached for a resonance to ground her frantic thoughts before they spiraled out of control. With each essential self reflection, she found herself wrestling with the same questions. How do they stay sane within the confines of a system that mistakes tenderness for turmoil? The world seemed to conspire against her. Every loving intention seemed twisted and misrepresented, cruelly repositioned until it served as a launch pad for negativity. Her laughter, so often genuine and free, echoed hollow to those who administered judgments with an unrelenting scalpel, cutting deep and leaving scars that screamed in silence. Amidst this brewing storm, there was a moment, one glimmer of hope. One day, sitting in a dimly lit cafe, enveloped in the warm embrace of fading sunlight, she penned a piece that dared to explore the duality of the self. It flowed like water, a tangible projection of her soul onto the page. Each word told a story, not just her own, but the stories of many lost within the depths of their minds, struggling against the tide of misunderstanding. Words splattered across the page like splashes of paint on a canvas, a desperate attempt to articulate not just her feelings, but the collective experiences of others who fought silently, shielding their truths beneath layers of veils. This isn't just my battle, she wrote. This is our battle, a fight against the tide of indifference that engulfs those who dare to feel too deeply. We are the nightingales in a world that prefers the silence of the woods, the white noise of everyday life. We seek not salvations, but simply the recognition of our pain, our joys, our realities. Yet we remain tangled in webs spun by hands ill equipped to understand. With each word, she painted an image of vulnerability, cloaked in melancholy, yet bursting with a fierce tenacity that resisted ultimate defeat. It became a manifesto, not just of her experience, but a chilling account of the desires of many. The very act of writing rendered her invisible chains visible, though they were not yet broken. The cathartic release transcended her own experience. It whispered to others like her, a delicate connection forged in the shared agony of existence. But still, the entrapping questions persisted. Would this piece resonate with others? Or would it fall flat, lost in the cacophony of voices that drowned out the tender notes of her heart? Would they grasp the nuances she expressed, or would they see only the words displayed before them, painted in frantic strokes that echoed her desperation? As the rhythms of the cafe pulsed around her, intermingling conversations mingling with the familiar scent of coffee and pastries, she realized, no matter the outcome, her words, her truth, mattered. Even if her honesty was a double edged sword, cutting paths through misunderstanding, it remained a pivotal part of her identity. It was the ember that fueled her spirit. And though the world continued its indifferent pace, the whirlwind of judgment and misconceptions cast shadow upon her heart, there remained moments of fleeting clarity. For even as the tempest raged on within her, the truth nestled close. There was beauty in the struggle, in the trenches of her tumultuous mind, and perhaps, just perhaps, others would find solace in the illumination of her unyielding, albeit melancholic narratives. In a world oversaturated with noise, could silence, the silence of shared experiences and honest narratives, forge a bond strong enough to quell lives battered by misunderstanding? Her heart whispered. Perhaps the answer lay in those very lines she penned. A mark on the world that seemed to resist the authenticity of emotions. The journey of understanding began with one soul willing to be honest, and she resolved to be that soul in this dance of vulnerability within a relentless storm.